Beneath a blood-red sky, where the air itself burns with sulfur, a single figure kneels in the cracked earth of a place no living thing should survive. His hands, calloused and stained with ash, press a tiny seed into the barren ground. This is Elias Voss, gardener, scientist, and the last defiant spark of life in a realm designed to crush hope. Around him, the landscape writhes with whispers of torment, the very soil rejecting his efforts. But as that first fragile root takes hold, something shifts in the fabric of this cursed place. The ground trembles not from another quake, but from the approaching march of clawed feet. A demonic horde crests the horizon, their leader's voice like grinding stone. No life grows here mortal, only suffering, and in that moment the impossible begins. One man's stubborn act of creation against an entire universe built for destruction. This isn't just a battle for survival, it's war against the fundamental laws of hell itself. The memory hits Elias like a furnace blast, the violent shudder of his ship tearing apart, as it plunged through the dimensional rift, howling winds of cursed energy ripping through the hull like claws. When he clawed his way from the wreckage, half dead and coughing smoke, he expected only scorched rock and endless fire, but then he saw it, a single, twisted stem clinging to a razor-thin crevice, its petals blackened at the edges but still straining toward the hellish sky. A flower here, something in his chest cracked open. His fingers shook as he plucked one seed pod from its stem, the heat nearly blistering his skin. The ground shuddered then too, but not from another quake. Something was coming, something hungry. He tucked the seeds into the one undamaged pocket of his ruined coat and whispered the words that would become his creed: "If this can survive, so can I." The first demon shriek echoed behind him as he ran, but the true rebellion had already begun, not with a weapon, but with stolen life cradled in his palm. Elias works in silence, his makeshift shovel biting into the scorched earth again and again. Each strike sends up plumes of acrid dust, but he doesn't stop. The salvaged filtration unit hums beside him, a jury-rigged mess of broken ship parts and sheer stubbornness, slowly turning sulfurous sludge into something barely drinkable. His first seedling, a spindly thing with leaves like charred paper, wilts in the relentless heat, but he shields it with his own shadow, whispering encouragement like a parent to a sick child. Then comes the rustling. A pair of yellow eyes glints from a fissure in the rocks, a scrawny imp, all jagged teeth and twitching claws. Most would flee or fight, but Elias just sighs and reaches into his coat. His fingers close around the last ripe fruit from his ruined homeworld, its skin still faintly glowing with bioluminescence. Hungry, he tosses it without ceremony. The imp snatches it midair, sniffing with suspicion until the first bite. Its whole body goes rigid. The fruit's sweetness is a shock, a sensation so foreign in this place of ash and bile that the creature drops to its knees, clutching the prize like a stolen treasure. Elias watches, his own throat tight. He knows that look. It's the same one he wore when he first saw the flower in the wastes, not just hunger but wonder. And in that moment, he realizes something terrifying. Hell has never given its creatures a reason to hope, until now. The air turns thick as molten iron as Belzhor's presence crushes down on the garden. His form is a nightmare-given shape, a mountain of festering muscle and burning eyes, each step making the ground weep blackened cracks. "You trespass where only rot belongs," his voice booms, shaking the fragile leaves trembling in their beds. Elias doesn't flinch. He wipes dirt from his hands, slow and deliberate, before glancing up at the archdemon. "Then why does your realm fear a single man with a shovel?" A hiss ripples through the watching imps. Belzhor's laughter sounds like boulders grinding bone. "Fear, your pitiful sprouts are less than kindling." He raises a clawed foot to stomp the nearest seedling, only to freeze mid-motion. Something slithers against his ankle, thin, green, impossibly alive. The vine tightens. All of hell seems to hold its breath as the first tendril digs into Belzhor's charred flesh, not burning, not withering, anchoring. More vines surge from the soil like awakened serpents, wrapping his legs in a living chain. For the first time in millennia, the archdemon staggers. Elias reaches down, pressing his palm to the trembling earth. "You built this place to break things," he murmurs, "but roots, they know how to break things back." Above them, the blood-red sky flickers just once like a candle guttering in the wind. Whispers slither through the pits like tendrils of smoke, murmurs of green shoots pushing through cracks where only agony once thrived. A skeletal laborer, ribs protruding like prison bars, stares at the gourd vine creeping up the spikes of his cage. Its husk hardens under his trembling fingers, edges sharp as defiance. The moment his chains snap, the sound echoes through every circle of torment. His voice cracks like dry earth splitting open. "You've given us tools, now we fight." A rusted ladle becomes a blade in the hands of a starved cook. Shackles shatter under the weight of melons grown dense as cannonballs. What starts as scattered skirmishes erupts into a wildfire of rebellion, fueled by something hell's architects never accounted for, not just rage, but purpose. Demons screech as prisoners turn irrigation canals into moats, flooding the torture pits with water purified by Elias's filters. The very soil rebels beneath the overlord's feet, roots tangling around whips and branding irons. High above the chaos, Elias watches a single flower bloom on the battleground, its petals unfolding in the exact shape of a victory banner. The ground trembles again, but this time, it's not the footsteps of monsters. It's the marching rhythm of the damned, rising. The sky splits open without warning, unleashing a torrent so thick it paints the world in screaming crimson. Belzhor's laughter booms through the deluge as scalding blood rain sears the earth, melting flesh from bone. The garden hisses, leaves curling like dying hands until Elias plunges his fingers into the soil and snarls a command. Vines erupt in frenzied defiance, their thorns swelling into barbed pillars that twist into a living palisade. The damned scramble behind this shuddering wall, their blistered hands clawing at mud turned to slurry. "Hold the line," Elias roars, his voice raw against the storm's howl. A desperate laborer thrusts his rusted shovel into the thorns and gasps as the brambles coil around the metal, reforging it into a serrated pike. The message spreads faster than the blood rain. The garden fights with them now. Belzhor's storm was meant to drown hope, but the thorns drink deep, their stems swelling grotesquely with stolen vitality. Each drop absorbed sends new shoots spearing upward, weaving a canopy that turns the scalding rain into a dripping sieve. The archdemon's triumph curdles into rage as his own weapon feeds the rebellion. Elias wipes blood from his eyes, watching roots churn beneath the battlefield like waking dragons. "You wanted a war of attrition," he murmurs, pressing his palm to a shuddering vine. "But every drop you spill, every scream you harvest just fuels the roots deeper." Above the writhing thorns, the first buds burst open not with flowers, but with jagged, glass-like petals that refract the hell light into spears of gold. The damned stare, slack-jawed, as their weapons begin to glow. The wind carries something different this time, not the usual stench of sulfur, but a scent of crushed herbs and old parchment. Elias feels the shift before he sees her, a figure draped in tattered silver, standing at the edge of his garden like a forgotten statue. Her wings are skeletal, stripped of feathers, but the way she moves still carries echoes of grace. "You fight the symptoms, not the sickness," she says, her voice like dry leaves scraping stone. Her fingers brush the wilted leaves of a struggling sapling, and for a heartbeat, the plant shudders, its veins pulsing with faint light. This place wasn't always barren. The soil screams with the memory of what was taken from it. Elias tenses as her gaze locks onto him, and you'd help me why? A bitter smile twists her lips, because even the fallen crave vindication. She kneels, pressing her palm to the earth. The ground responds with a groan, as if stirring from a nightmare. The first curse was not fire or pain, it was forgetting. The architects of hell salted the land with oblivion, so none would recall the gardens that once grew here. Her eyes gleam with something dangerous, but you make things remember. The offer hangs between them, heavy as a blade, a single seedling from Elias's coat for the words that could unravel hell's oldest wound. Around them, the wind carries whispers of roots twitching deeper than they should, as if listening. When Elias finally nods, the angel's whisper is barely audible, a language of rustling leaves and distant thunder. The earth spasms beneath them. Somewhere far below, something ancient and green opens its eyes. The words leave Elias's lips like seeds scattering on the wind, each syllable taking root in the air itself. The angel's language is a thing of thorns and honey, sharp enough to cut and sweet enough to sting. The ground bucks beneath him, not in anger but awakening, as if shaking off a nightmare. Then it happens. Fractures split the barren crust, and from the wounds erupt blossoms in hues that shouldn't exist, indigo like drowned stars, crimson like fresh spilled dawn. Their petals unfurl with audible sighs, releasing pollen that doesn't drift but dances, weaving itself into a luminous veil above the battlefield. A lesser demon clutches its chest, choking not on smoke but clarity. This was never ours. It rasps, staring at the shield of light now repelling Belzhor's blood rain. The revelation hits like a cleaver through rotten meat. Hell was grafted onto something older. Something alive. Elias feels it too, the soil humming beneath his boots, not with pain but memory. Vines surge upward with new ferocity, no longer just defending but reclaiming. Stones crumble into fertile dust. Chains rust into nothing, and high above, the suffocating red of the sky flickers. Just for a heartbeat, a sliver of blue shows through, the way a scar might split to reveal unbroken skin beneath. The damned don't cheer, they weep. Belzhor's roar shakes the crumbling spires, but the sound is thinner now, desperate. His claws rake at the shimmering shield, only to come away dripping not with gore but sap. The garden isn't just growing anymore, it's dreaming, and in its dreams, hell was always meant to bloom. The earth shatters like thin ice beneath Belzhor's fury, rivers of molten rock surging upward to swallow the crumbling garden. But the archdemon doesn't stop there. His form swells, cracking open the sky itself as he pulls the scorched heart of hell into his flesh. Limbs of burning obsidian stretch across the horizon, his voice a quake that topples spires. You dare challenge me, worm? I am this world. Elias doesn't run, doesn't even raise his hands in defense. He simply kneels, fingers splayed against the trembling soil, and whispers, and I am its gardener. What happens next isn't growth, it's reckoning. Roots explode from the ground like spears hurled by an angry god, not just piercing Belzhor's magma skin but binding it, tendrils hardening into adamant chains as they drink the fire from his veins. The archdemon howls, but the sound is swallowed by an even deeper roar, the groan of the land itself remembering what it was before the burning. The vines don't just restrain, they translate, weaving through Belzhor's borrowed flesh like stitches closing a wound. And then silence. The battlefield holds its breath as the titanic form of the archdemon shudders, his magma cooling to jagged stone mid-swing. A single vine, thick as a redwood and glowing like emerald lightning, pushes through his chest, not to kill but to plant. At its tip, a bud unfurls into a blossom the color of absolution, petals wide enough to cradle a fallen star. Belzhor's remaining eye rolls wildly, staring at the flower bursting from his own ribcage. What is this? His voice is smoke now, crumbling. Elias rises, wiping ash from his face. An old trick, he says softly. Turns out, even a hellscape needs compost. The ground groans in agreement, not in pain, but relief, as roots pull the archdemon's dissolving form back into the earth, like a mother reclaiming a wayward child. Above them, the first true breeze in millennia stirs the dust. It carries the scent of damp soil, of beginnings. Beneath the battlefield, where roots still twitch with lingering defiance, the ground gives way under Elias's probing fingers, not into emptiness, but into something warm. His breath catches as his hand closes around it, a seed, but unlike any he's unearthed before. It thrums against his palm like a second heartbeat, its surface veined with faint bioluminescence. The fallen angel watches from the shadows, her ruined wings trembling. They called it the heartseed, she murmurs, the first life they tried to strangle here. It remembers the light. Elias turns the seed over, feeling its pulse synchronize with his own. A reckless idea takes root in his mind. No pot could nurture this. No soil could cradle it rightly. His fingers go to the buttons of his shirt, bearing the scarred flesh over his ribs. The angel's gasp is sharp. You can't mean to. The pain is immediate, white-hot and searing, as he presses the seed into the self-made incision. His vision blurs, but he holds it there, teeth gritted until the thing bonds. Then the world tilts. His veins ignite with emerald fire, branching beneath his skin like sudden rivers charting a new course. The earth beneath him shudders in response, not in protest, but recognition. Above, the sky ripples like disturbed water, its eternal red bleeding into streaks of gold. The damned clutch their chests in unison, feeling the echo of that heartbeat in their own hollow ribs. Even the demons pause, their howls dying mid-screech as the very air thickens with something forgotten, chlorophyll and dew. Elias staggers but doesn't fall. His breath comes in ragged gasps, each exhale sending tendrils of green mist curling into the scorched air. The angel kneels before him, her skeletal fingers brushing the glowing fissures now tracing his torso. "You've grafted yourself to the land," she whispers, awed. Now when you bleed, a drop of his blood hits the ground, and where it falls, the earth doesn't just heal. It sings. The ground trembles with more than roots now, it shudders with division. A cacophony of snarls and hissing erupts across the battlefield as demonic ranks fracture like rotten wood. Claws meant for Elias turn inward, rending armor and flesh alike. A horned warlord with smoldering sigils carved into his hide shoves through the chaos, his voice a guttural rasp. "You've poisoned their minds, human." They forget their purpose. Elias watches a pack of lesser demons crouch protectively around a sapling, their jagged fingers stroking the leaves with unsettling reverence. The warlord lunges closer, his offer dripping with desperation. "My legions could raise this grove in an hour," or his molten eyes flicker. "We could serve your rebellion." Even hell's blades grow weary of endless slaughter. The proposition hangs thick in the air, but Elias doesn't reach for the outstretched claw. Instead, he kneels, pressing a hand to the soil where a fallen demon lies motionless. The corpse twitches not with undeath, but transformation. Bark erupts from its chest, branches spiraling upward like grasping hands. Within moments, the body is gone, replaced by a tree heavy with bulbous crimson fruit. "This isn't about choosing sides," Elias says, plucking a fruit and tossing it to the warlord. The demon fumbles it, flinching as juice drips down his wrist. The scent is cloying, sweet enough to make his nostrils burn. Elias nods toward the warring factions. They're not turning on you because of me, they're turning because for the first time, they've tasted something besides ashes. A low groan rolls through the ranks as another brawling demon collapses, his wounds sprouting vines that knit flesh back together, but not as it was. His skin greens, his claws soften into twigs. The warlord staggers back as his own warriors hesitate, staring at their transformed kin with something akin to hunger. Elias wipes his hands on his trousers, leaving smears of earth and sap. You want change? He gestures to the grove swelling around them, its branches now heavy with fruit that pulses like living hearts. Then let them eat. The sky tears like aged parchment, golden light pouring through the rift like molten judgment. Winged figures descend in perfect formation, their radiance searing away the lingering haze of sulfur. Each step they take scorches the tender shoots pushing through hell's crust, their pristine sandals recoiling from the touch of living soil. The lead angel's voice rings with glacial finality. This defilement ends now. Elias doesn't bow, doesn't even blink as the heavenly host's glare burns his skin. He simply spreads his arms, palms upturned, revealing the calluses and dirt-stained nails of a laborer. Defilement, his laugh is rough as bark. You call redemption a sin. Behind him, the garden pulses, vines thickening, leaves trembling with pent-up energy. The angel's sword ignites, its holy flame turning the air to glass. We cast the fallen here for eternity. Their torment was divine will, and the land. Elias presses his bare foot into the soil. It responds instantly, roots snaking up his leg like loyal hounds. Did it deserve the chains you wrapped around it? A shudder runs through the ground, deeper than roots, older than pain. The angels shift, their flawless harmony fracturing as the first tendril brushes a seraph's ankle, and instead of withering, it blooms. Horror flashes across the celestial faces. This isn't corruption, it's something worse, restoration. The garden remembers what they've tried to erase. Vines surge upward, not attacking but embracing, twining around wings with the gentleness of a parent gripping a wayward child. The angels shriek as their feet touch earth, really touch it, for the first time in eons. Their radiance dims not from defeat, but from something more terrifying, the weight of connection. Elias watches as the lead angel stumbles, his glowing eyes reflecting the verdant wildfire spreading across the wasteland. You left this place to rot, Elias murmurs, but life, it remembers how to come home. Above them, the rift in heaven's gate spasms, and begins slowly to heal. The demon's claw hovers over the tender shoot, its razor edges trembling. A single drop of black ichor falls onto the leaf, and instead of withering, the plant responds by curling upward, embracing the scorched finger. The creature jerks back with a shriek, but not from pain. Its obsidian talons are softening. Master Voss, a lesser demon, stumbles forward, its spiked knees buckling as its carapace cracks like dried mud. Beneath the shards, pink, vulnerable flesh. What curse is this? It clutches its face as horns crumble away, revealing smooth skin beneath. Elias kneels beside the trembling creature, pressing a damp cloth to its forehead, an act so simple it feels like heresy. The demon flinches at the touch, then sags against him with a sound no hellspawn should make, a sob. Across the battlefield, similar transformations ripple through the ranks. A hulking brute stares at his shrinking arms, now dotted with freckles where flaming sigils once burned. I remember, he rasps, voice gentler than rainwater. Before the pits, before the screaming, there was a village by a river. Then comes the sound that fractures hell's foundations completely, a newborn's cry. Beneath the first true tree to grow in the underworld, A former succubus cradles a squirming bundle wrapped in vine leaves. The infant's tiny fingers grasp at the air, utterly unharmed by the fading embers drifting from its mother's hair. Elias steps closer, his shadow mingling with dappled sunlight filtering through branches. "They told you demons couldn't create life," he murmurs, brushing a petal from the child's forehead. "Only steal it." The mother looks up, her eyes no longer pits of hunger but pools of bewildered wonder. "What have you done to us?" Elias exhales, watching his breath mist in air that no longer scorches his lungs. "Nothing." He places a hand on the tree's trunk, feeling the pulse of sap through bark. "Just reminded the land and its people what they were before the fire came." Somewhere in the distance, a flock of birds takes flight. Their wings, once tattered shadows, now gleam like polished onyx against a sky turning cerulean at the edges. The once terrifying archdemon lies curled in the dirt like a discarded husk, his obsidian armor now brittle as dead leaves. Belzhor's remaining claw scrabbles at his own chest where the rose grows, its roots deep in what used to be a furnace of hatred. His voice cracks like drought-stricken earth. "Why does it hurt?" Elias kneels, ignoring the gasps of the watching crowd. His fingers, still streaked with soil, press against the demon's feverish brow. "Not hurt, feel." The words land softly, but they send tremors through the fallen titan. Belzhor convulses as memories flood him, not of conquests or torments, but of standing beneath an open sky he'd forgotten existed, watching clouds drift like careless gods. The rose in his chest pulses in time with his ragged breaths, its thorns catching the light like unshed tears. A child, one of the reborn, her horns now mere nubs under curly hair, darts forward to press a handful of damp earth against the demon's trembling palm. "It's better when you share," she whispers, Belzhor's massive fingers close around the offering instinctively, but this time he doesn't crush, he cradles. The soil darkens where a single drop of moisture falls, not ichor, not lava, just water. Above them, the petals of his chest rose unfurl further, revealing a golden center that casts delicate reflections across his ravaged face. Elias leans close, voice barely audible over the rustling of 1,000 new leaves. "You thought pain was your purpose, but it was just the wound talking." Belzhor's answering shudder sends vines spiraling up his arms, not restraining but steadying. His last remaining horn crumbles away, and in its place a shoot emerges. Tender, green, alive. The first dawn breaks over what was once hell, not with a fiery explosion, but with the quiet unfurling of petals. Elias stands at the crossroads between three peoples, the redeemed demons with their softened claws and tentative smiles, the angels trembling as their feet press into living soil for the first time in eons, and the damned who still touch their unshackled wrists in disbelief. The air hums with something deeper than magic, the vibration of roots knitting together beneath them, weaving a foundation not of borders but belonging. Realms were just cages with prettier names, Elias says, pressing his palm to the ground. The earth responds instantly, surging upward to cradle his hand like an old friend. Around him, saplings twist into archways, their branches heavy with fruit that glows like captured sunlight. The fallen angel steps forward, her tattered robes brushing against demonic shoulders without recoil. When her lips graze Elias's cheek, the touch leaves behind not a blessing or a curse, but a single seed, its shell already splitting with green insistence. Gasps ripple through the crowd as her wings shudder, molting centuries of decay to reveal downy feathers the color of rain-soaked wheat. "You don't fix broken things," Elias murmurs, watching gold creep through the soil like spilled honey. "You give them the space to grow something new." A child once damned, now cradling a butterfly hatched from ember ash, tugs his sleeve, What do we call this place? Elias smiles, home, and overhead, where the sky once boiled with torment, a wind carries the scent of turned earth and ripening promises. The bark begins at his fingertips, creeping up his wrists like creeping frost, only this isn't cold. It's warmth, deep, anchoring warmth. Elias stares as the veins in his hands darken, not with rot, but with something older, wood grain. The heartseed's glow pulses through his ribs like a second sunrise, each heartbeat sending roots spiraling down his legs, fusing with the soil beneath. A sob breaks the silence, one of the reborn, clutching his petrifying ankle. "You can't," Elias smiles, though his lips are already stiffening. "Watch me." His voice rasps like wind through leaves as roots erupt from his shoulders, not violently, but with the gentle certainty of dawn breaking. They twist skyward, branching into a canopy that casts dappled shadows over the weeping crowd. His torso hardens, the heartseed's light now shimmering through fissures in his chest like liquid emerald. The fallen angel presses her forehead to his wrist as it solidifies. "You gave it your flesh," she whispers. "Got the better end of the deal," he murmurs back. His fingers now gnarled boughs curl around her shoulders, pulling her into an embrace that smells of cedar and damp earth. "Don't mourn, now I'll always be here," and it's true, as his face stills into rough-hewn bark, his presence doesn't vanish. It expands, roots surge outward, stitching ravines closed, weaving fractured continents into a single, living tapestry. The ground stops trembling. For the first time in eternity, hell, no, this place knows peace. High above, his branches shudder, releasing a shower of seeds that catch the light like falling stars. They land in open palms, in hair, in the upturned faces of demons who forgot how to hope. Each one glows faintly, imprinting the same truth onto every tongue that tastes it. Nothing is ever truly lost. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of rain-ready soil, and somewhere in the rustling leaves, the children swear they hear laughter. The world tree towers over the land, its branches heavy with fruit that glows like trapped sunlight. Pilgrims with scarred hands and hopeful eyes press their foreheads to its roots, whispering thanks as the bark pulses warm against their skin. A child tugs at Belzhor's weathered cloak, fingers brushing the vine-woven patch where his armor once fused to flesh. "They say this place had another name," she murmurs, staring at the dappled shadows where no fire burns. Belzhor's remaining horn, now softened into a spiraled curl of bark, brushes her hair as he kneels. Names are just stories waiting to be rewritten. His claw, once sharp enough to cleave mountains, carefully plucks a fruit and presses it into her palm. It hums there, alive with the same rhythm as the distant roots beneath their feet. The child bites into it, eyes widening as the juice spills gold down her chin. But was it really hell here? Laughter rumbles through Belzhor's chest, shaking loose petals that spiral around them like forgotten spells. "Oh, little sprout." It was worse. He points to the far horizon, where the last obsidian spire crumbles under a blanket of flowering ivy. "We thought torment was the only language the universe knew." Until his voice gentles, nodding toward the world tree's heart where the outline of a man still lingers in the grain, one hand forever outstretched. The breeze shifts, carrying the scent of turned soil and something sweeter memory made tangible. A reformed imp, now a gardener with blossoms tangled in her hair, offers the child a seedling. "Hold it close," she whispers. "It'll tell you the truth better than we can." The sapling trembles in tiny hands and blooms. A storm rolls across the transformed land, thunder shaking the branches of the world tree like a gentle reprimand. The pilgrims look up as the wind carries words not spoken, but remembered Elias's final whisper, threading through leaves and lingering in the spaces between raindrops. "Tend your gardens well, the sound travels farther than any voice should. On a barren moon orbiting a dying star, cracks split the dust-choked surface. Emerald tendrils push upward, unfurling leaves that drink in stellar radiation like sunlight. The roots know where to go down, always down until they brush against something buried beneath the ruins of a forgotten city. A seed pod, ancient and hardened, splits open with a sound like a sigh. Across the cosmos, similar ruptures occur in places once given up for dead. A derelict warship drifting in the void shudders as vines breach its hull, blossoming in zero gravity. The ice caps of a lifeless colony world turn green beneath their frozen shells. Each awakening carries the same whispered directive, the same unshakable truth: life remembers its purpose. Back beneath the world tree, the fallen angel presses her palm to the bark. The wood pulses against her skin like a fading heartbeat. She doesn't weep. She smiles. You didn't just plant gardens, she murmurs. You planted questions, and now the universe is answering. High above, the storm breaks, not with a deluge, but with a shower of glowing seeds that catch the wind like dandelion wishes. They rise, spinning toward the stars, while below, children stretch out their hands to catch them, not to plant, not yet, just to hold for now and wonder. The red soil crumbles between the farmers' fingers as they press the seed deep into the earth, their brow furrowed against the twin suns' glare. Around them, the endless plains stretch like a rust-colored ocean, dotted with the brittle husks of crops long since withered. Yet when the stranger gave them this seed, its surface etched with markings that seemed to whisper when touched, something inside them ached, not fear. Recognition. A child crouches nearby, poking at the freshly turned dirt. Why this one? They ask, squinting as a dry wind tugs at their ragged sleeves. The farmer doesn't answer immediately. They press a palm flat to the ground, feeling the faintest tremor beneath the cracked surface, as if the planet itself is holding its breath. Then it happens. The soil darkens where the seed rests, not with moisture, but with veins of emerald light. The child scrambles back as the first shoot punches upward, its stem coiled like a spring before unfurling with a sound like tumbling coins. The leaves that follow are edged in gold, their tips flickering with tiny tongues of flame that don't burn but dance. The farmer exhales sharply. They've seen fire before in the furnaces of the scrap towns, in the riots when the last reservoirs dried up. But this fire sings. The child reaches out, hesitating. Is it safe? The farmer barks a laugh, their grin stretching wide. Nothing that matters ever is. They lean closer, watching as the flame leaves cast shifting patterns across their weathered skin. But their voice drops to a reverent hush. This feels like coming home, and as the seedling stretches taller, its roots already twisting deeper than anything has a right to grow in this barren place, the wind carries a scent no one living would recognize: damp soil, citrus, and something older than rain. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the earth begins to dream again. The wind carries the last echoes of Elias's name through branches now heavy with worlds instead of fruit. Pilgrims no longer visit the world tree to mourn, they come to listen. Press an ear to its bark, and you'll hear more than sap rising. You'll catch the murmur of 1,000 saplings pushing through dead soil on distant moons, their roots humming the same defiant tune. A former torturer turned, venturer kneels in the shade, pressing a wineskin to the roots. The liquid that seeps back out isn't wine anymore. It's water so clear it reflects the faces they used to fear. Funny thing, they chuckle, watching their twisted reflections smooth into something gentler. Turns out redemption wasn't a gift, just a seed we forgot to water. High above, the branches shiver, releasing not seeds this time, but stories, tiny pods that burst against outstretched palms, filling the air with whispers of other worlds waking. A child laughs as one drifts into their grip, the casing splitting to reveal not words, but sensation, the cool kiss of rain on parched earth, the weight of a shovel in calloused hands, the dizzying joy of watching something grow where nothing should. Belzhor, now more bark than beast, reaches up to snap a single twig from the lowest branch. It doesn't wither in his grip, it blossoms, petals unfolding to reveal a map etched in bioluminescent veins. Seems he left us some instructions. He rumbles, and the crowd leans in, not to follow, to choose. Some take the map's seeds to dead stars. Others plant them in the cracks of their own scarred histories. But the real miracle, it happens in the quiet moments between, when a demon turned, midwife hums lullabies to a newborn with leaves in their hair, when a starved wanderer realizes the glowing berry in their palm is enough to feed a dozen more. The universe isn't just healing, it's learning, and somewhere beyond the reach of even the world tree's farthest roots, in a place the light hasn't touched yet, the soil stirs. Not because it's been saved, but because it remembers how.